What it do, my YouTube crew? We got to talk about Zulu today in this video. First character that Koji Mikagami meets in this new world of slaves and Coliseum battle. It's kind of crazy how people are brushing the character aside as just an info gathering when she might be Mikagami's biggest threat. Let's start with some character facts from the beginning. Zulu meets Mikagami while in prison and tells him that she poked around to the point of getting in trouble in chapter 1. Now, she doesn't really say much more until Mikagami defeats Mary and they have their talk in chapter 3. She explains that she has personal history with Zaid and has been wanting to take her down for some time now. Zulu does a lot of intel gathering, remember this, and has said that the church Zaid runs is involved in all kinds of heinous stuff. This includes gambling, assassinations, loan sharking, slavery, and other things. So think about it. If Zulu was getting too close to something before her imprisonment, Zaid had to act, or she could have been deposed. She holds a high-ranking position as head priestess, so it's safe to assume that whatever it was made it so Zaid couldn't look the other way. In most anime or manga, when somebody does too much snooping on a potential villain, they either get locked up or killed. What we see is the former, and that could be the groundwork for what's to come in later chapters. This is half the reason why I think Zulu is playing a double agent role. The other half is her closeness to Mikagami. She has manipulated him enough to where he can act as a villain, despite him slipping up from time to time. So with him being manipulated, Mikagami that is, you know, it's like Zulu is setting up a fall man. You know, she won't take the fall, or she won't be the only one to take the fall, in a sense, is what I'm getting at here. Because when you think about it, Zulu's not really a villain. She doesn't come off as a villain, but she knows how to be a villain. Like, she gave advice to Mikagami how to deal with Mary. She gave advice to Mikagami when it came to dealing with Saizou. So she's not innocent whatsoever, but she's making sure that he's being looked at as despicable while she just sits on the sidelines and watches the show. Because really, like everyone has said, the Coliseum is a theater and Mikagami is the actor. Besides that, Zulu is aware that outside of the Coliseum, Mikagami is weak, which he confirms in chapter 14. Mikagami's strengths come from the slaves he acquired, unorthodox tactics, and the opponents he faced. If sensitive information like that was leaked, it could be trouble. Now, you may or may not know this, or maybe you forgot, but Luna has always said, you know, if we can get information on like Mikagami, we can sell it to nobles and I can gain at least some type of power back. Everyone's wanting to know what Mikagami's weaknesses is. Now, we see a lot of folks in the audience see him do all kinds of silly stuff, and no one's never pinpointed what his actual weakness is. But Vivian is probably the only one that pointed it out, that his weakness is his slaves. And it's not to say that they are like his Achilles heel. It's more like if you take them out, if you take the slaves out and it's just Mikagami, he's likely gonna lose in a tag battle. If it's a tag battle, that's the weakness. The weakness is whoever his slave is. Now, when it comes to one-on-one, there's no telling what you're gonna get. It's kind of hard to beat him in a one-on-one because he's gonna copy whatever move you come with, and you either gotta be someone who's just buff without like the actual buff, and that'll be that. But I'm getting off topic here with this stuff. We're going back to the sensitive information. You know, if it was leaked, it could be trouble. Now, Zulu has shown no signs of betrayal, but her having knowledge of it should not be ignored. As the old saying goes, knowledge is power, and Zulu is not just any slave. Like, she's not one of these just average Joes. She's actually a really good surveillance slave. She goes out and does her thing and comes back and reports. But we don't see her fights, but we know she's won at least a few to still walk around freely. Zaid, now we got to bring Zaid back in this, might not be aware, or maybe she's too focused on killing Mikagami to care, but at some point it has to be addressed that, you know, Zulu is free, and what's the relationship between her and Zaid. That aside though, Zulu doesn't say anything about Desmos, which she still doesn't. She, you know, Zaid is the investor, but the one restricting Zulu's freedom and making money off her is Desmos. And you just don't see like Zulu saying anything when Mikagami goes to meet her. Like, she tells him, but she's not like, yeah, you should definitely go after Desmos and all this stuff. So don't you think it's like suspicious that she's helping someone take down Zaid, but not the actual boss who's like over Zaid? And you know, it's only a theory, but two things could be happening here. And it all depends on Harawata Sensei's writing. One, Zulu is just going with the flow to see how far Mikagami will get. Or two, she's going to be, you know, approached with a deal she wouldn't be dumb enough to refuse. Everything has a price, and that includes loyalty. So just think back on this video as we move forward with Reincarnation Coliseum, and, you know, we'll kind of like fill in the blanks from there, and I'll make an update of this if something was to change. And you just never know. You never know what you're gonna get. But I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on Zulu, and if so, leave a like and comment on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't for more content, and I will see you next time. Holla at your boy.